Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a new recording of English music for string orchestra, always a popular topic if you happen to be an English record label or English artists, because English composers did a lot of really first-class 20th century music for string orchestra. And here it is. John Wilson leads the Sinfonia of London on Chandos in 4 works. They are Vaughan Wiliams' Fantasia on a Theme by Tallis, Herbert Howells' Concerto for String Orchestra, Delius' Late Swallows, and Elgar's Introduction and Allegro for a string quartet and string orchestra. And I didn't really, well, let's just put it this way. John Wilson here, Mr. Wilson, has not impressed me in most of his recent releases. I wasn't quite sure who he was and what he did really well. And Chandos has really, sort of hung their hat on this guy. I mean, they've invested a huge amount of treasure in his reputation and his interpretive savoir-faire, and the result has been really quite average up to this point. It really has. But this is fabulous. First class. Amazing. And in music that who would have known? This is not blockbuster, huge orchestra stuff. A lot of it is rather more intimate, a little more inward looking, and Wilson just plays the daylights out of it. And the Sinfonia of London, a pickup band, basically, sounds, the string section of the Sinfonia of London sounds absolutely fabulous. And the sonics are marvelous. And Wilson has ideas about how this stuff should go. And they work really well. I mean, wow, gee whiz, who would have thought about it? Really, I mean, take the Tallis Fantasia, the first thing on the program. Now, the Tallis Fantasia has been recorded 1 billion times. It is absolutely one of the great masterpieces for a string orchestra. It's beyond gorgeous and transcendental and spiritual and marvelous. And you wouldn't think there's much that one could do with it, would you? This recording is just a little bit more than 15 minutes, which is just about right. But the tempi are interestingly distributed. The outer sort of statement of the Tallis theme sections are rather grave. I mean, grave in a good sense, solemn and measured and serenely beautiful. The central part, starting out when the string quartet comes in, is actually rather quick. And Wilson drives that passage to that central climax. And I was so worried, because he tends to take things quickly. And he tends to take things quickly to their detriment, to not giving them enough time to allow the big moments to really register. But he plays it smart. He's pushing forward, coming to the climax, and then he pulls back and really lets it sink in and have its impact. Oh my goodness, I was so pleased. It was such a smart bit of conducting, such smart interpretation. And the whole thing is magnificently recorded. I mean, gorgeously recorded. The Tallis Fantasia is written for big string orchestra, little sort of off-stage string orchestra, and a string quartet. And these different things are so beautifully captured by their microphones and so well balanced and differentiated. And the massed strings have such impact and richness, and you hear bass lines, and oh my gosh, it's a marvel. It really is. Now, Howells' Concerto for String Orchestra is also a masterpiece in its way. It's interestingly, it's much more, what's the word, acerbic and biting, more along the lines of somebody like, Bartók or one of those composers. It has some really nice crunching, biting dissonances, and it's more neoclassical, more motoric in its rhythms, and Wilson really digs into it. I mean, he really lets his players bite. It has pungency, yeah, and the rhythms are really hard hitting, and it's terrific. This performance is a little bit on the swift side, all to the good. Really, it's quite wonderful. Then we have Late Swallows, which is the arrangement by Eric Fenby, Delius's amanuensis, the helper, the guy who took stuff by dictation and helped Delius, who was blind later in life, helped him, create his late masterpieces. And Fenby arranged the slow movement of his string quartet for string orchestra and called it Late Swallows. Yes, there it was. The swallows were late. Yes, the finches were early. Anyway, never mind. It's a very pretty little slow movement. How long is it here? It's not very long. It's 9 minutes. And it's lovely and beautifully performed and touching and sweet. And last but not least, Elgar's introduction in Allegro, a small masterpiece, a mini master as well. It's 13-minute long single movement. Absolutely wonderful as well. Full of dynamism and richness and beautifully shaped and smartly balanced. And everything about it is just terrific. It really is. I was so happy to hear whatever organs we're using, John Wilson really nail it. Instead of just taking some sort of huge blockbuster and turn in some average performance of it. This disc sounds like it meant something. And it will mean something to you. You will enjoy it. I guarantee it. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.